Hello and welcome to the newest episode of the GW Basketball Insiders podcast. I'm Liam Omerku alongside David Korn. We, of course, will be talking about GW basketball's performance in the last week or so, a win over St. Bonaventure on Sunday, and then a loss to VCU last night. Nice win over St. Bonaventure, tight loss to VCU. David, you were at the VCU game, so why don't we just start off with your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is how great of a start GW got out to 8-0 run to start the game, 21-10. Right after the under 12. Really as good of a start as you could hope for. But again, VCU is a really, really good team, and I want to stress that they are a excellent team. Squarely on the bubble for an at-large bid. I think they will end up playing themselves into at-large territory, and assuming there's no disaster in the A10 tournament, will earn an at-large bid if they do not win. Anyway, they're a great team. I think maybe the best guard depth I've ever seen in the Atlantic 10 in the past 6 years. They're a really great squad, and they're figuring it out down low. Jack Clark, again, he had I think his best game of the season against GW yesterday. Bam Goye and Furman are a serviceable duo at the 5. That hard start really kept GW in it, I think, longer than maybe people expected them to be in the game, because it forced VCU to play from behind. But a really fun game, back and forth. VCU kind of took control in the second half. GW made it interesting, but overall, really, really fun game. Would have been great for GW to get the win. But Liam, watching from home, what was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that I was a little frustrated with the Peacock broadcast after complimenting them last week. It was very delayed. It was a solid 2 minutes delayed, which made it a little bit frustrating when I'm trying to communicate or in real time. So It was I was texting you and others, and you guys were what happened, at this point in the game? And I was hold on, give me 2 minutes.
It is nice having you home, because when there's something we don't really – because one thing about the Smith Centers, if you're media, is you're not courtside. You're up high, so it's sometimes difficult to get an exact read on maybe a call from an official or a clock issue or something like that. So it's actually very helpful to have
to have your spotter at home.
Exactly. Yes.
No, but my thoughts on the actual game itself. Kind of a lot of what you said. I thought it was a solid performance, a really good start. This VCU team, I think they can win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. I think they're good. They're the best team GW has played this year. That's what I'll say. Including this George Mason team that's at the top of the A10, and this Kansas State team that now has beaten 6 wins in a row in the Big 12, and 4 of their last 6 have been over ranked opponents. But that's a different story. They've gotten a lot better since they played GW.
Yeah, but I agree. I think VCU was great, and I think they played a great game against GW. I think GW actually had a pretty good game plan going into it, but
the ball movement from VCU at times was incredible. There's nothing you can do to stop that, paired with the fact that they shot 50% from 3.
Exactly. And Jack Clark was a guy who was shooting under 30% on the season.
He looked like Kevin Durant. It was incredible. He was
and he shot 4 of 7 from 3. And you talked about that ball movement. And what really happened is VCU was really taking the opportunity to sort of milk the shot clock to get an open shot. And a lot of the times that open shot was Clark in the corner or Clark on a wing or something. And, if you're GW, you feel pretty good about bringing VCU's offense to the end of a shot clock and them having to settle for a Clark 3, because you don't want Bamasol or Shulga to beat you, or Russell, who's having a great year, and I think has been one of the most fun players to watch. Seb Jackson had a great game too yesterday. That's right. And they have 4 guards who I think would start on pretty much any team. And but anyway, they basically GW dared VCU to beat them on the perimeter with guys who don't normally beat them on the perimeter. And they did. And you can't really fault GW for that game plan against a great team. If GW coming in as the underdog, which they were, I don't think there's any doubt about how clear of an underdog they were against VCU. You need something to go right.
Yeah. Yeah, 8-point underdogs. So if anyone bet on the game, depending on whether you got it at +8 or 8.5 or whatever, it was right. The margin ended up being right on what the spread was, which honestly, coming into this game, I thought VCU would win by a lot more because VCU has been blowing teams out this year. Like they've been dominating teams. But yeah, can we talk about so one of my main takeaways was that for GW, the 3-point shooting was better. That is in large part due to Trey Autry, who was awesome last night. He had a career high. And yeah, it seems pretty clear to me that he's the best 3-point shooter on this team.
Can I tell you why I think 3-point shooting from GW was better yesterday?
Why is that?
I think it's because Gerald Drumgoole had a bit of a more he did not have as quick of a trigger.
Yeah.
And he did not play as many minutes.
That was one thing I was going to ask you. He only took 1 3 and he made it. Do you obviously, my opinion is they need to find the balance between him taking 10 threes and missing all of them and taking 1 3 and only making it. Like, he's a streaky 3-point shooter, but I still think he should be getting more than one in a game.
So what I think, yes, I agree. And what I think GW did though is yesterday, I think they were experimenting with more lineups instead of just having to sort of fill in around Drumgoole to 3. They played about 6 minutes, I think, jumbo lineup, which is the most run we've seen from them this season, with Buchanan sliding down to the 3 and Hansen and Castro down low. And that lineup didn't do great, but I was still intrigued to see it get some run, and I think we'll see that get some more run again. They also played a lot of minutes with, especially at the end of the game in crunch time. Yeah, they didn't do great in crunch time, but I still didn't hate these minutes with Jacoy, Christian Jones, and Trey Autry alongside Buchanan and Castro, which I kind of liked. I liked having 2 ball handlers. I think that was helpful trying to break VCU's press. I liked having 2 ball handlers, and I thought Autry held his own defending threes and defending VCU's. Again, VCU is a sort of a smaller lineup, so I think that maybe worked a bit as well. But I wouldn't hate to see sort of either of those lineups going smaller or going bigger, get some more opportunity here, especially if sort of Caputo's realized that it's not sustainable to hope that Drumgoole has, a hot shooting performance like he does 1 in every 4 games or something like that.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the press. I think the obviously we're all kind of familiar with this idea of Havoc or whatever, the kind of VCU brand of defense, which Ryan Odom hasn't necessarily done. But I was very impressed with their press. And although they only got a few turnovers, it's not like they were giving GW so many issues where they got a lot of turnovers. I think it tired GW out, and it's part of the reason why
GW couldn't get into any of their sets.
Right.
A lot of these possessions ended up being, Buchanan sort of working his way into the post and getting doubled, hoping for a Castro bailout or an Autry bailout, which happened a few times, but I didn't really see them running the offense as much. And if you've listened to any of Caputo's press conferences, you know that this is a young team. And so I think for a young backcourt, they actually did a pretty good job of breaking the press. And I think having a guy like Sean Hansen, who played a bit, who can, help advance the ball. Castro, again, who can dribble a bit. I think having bigs who can do that. Buchanan, obviously, can basically play point forward and is very comfortable in that role. I think that helped break the press. And I think, yes, it tired GW out, but I think it showed that, I thought it could have done a lot more damage to GW than it did, given how young their backcourt is. And I was surprised we hadn't seen a team as aggressively press this GW team as VCU did.
Yeah, no, it was smart. And GW was pressing a little bit at the beginning of the game, weren't they?
Yeah, they were a bit. But I don't think VCU had really too much trouble with it, so I think they stopped.
Yeah. So kind of going along with the VCU press tiring GW out. Again, we had issues with late game execution. GW in the last 4 minutes made 5 of their 12 free throws. So, would they have won the game if they had made some of those? Maybe not. But still, 5 of 12 in the last 4 minutes is not good. 3 of 11 field goals in the last 10 minutes is not good. So it's just, I mean, this is kind of what we've been talking about all season with the issues in the late game.
So I think this is a team that's missing a true lead guard.
Yeah.
And Christian Jones and Jacoy have been good at times this season, but for a while now, GW's been used to having like sort of a veteran, maybe not even a veteran, but a guy like James Bishop or Brendan Adams, who you could feel comfortable with the ball in the final seconds, knowing that they could pull off something crazy, they'd make the smart play, like you had a shot with the ball in their hands. Yeah. And you don't have that this year. And I've been thinking, and I think that could be something that Caputo really targets in the portal this year.
Yeah,
and I think
it is.
And I think he could, because I think he's mentioned a few times how he's missing that sort of James Bishop type. And I think he's really going to go hard for that sort of lead guard, 15-point per game scorer at the one type of player. And I think that would really help, especially you could maybe slide Christian Jones down to the 2, which I wouldn't hate. I don't want to speculate too much more about the rest of the roster for next year, but I definitely think that's something that we could see as a priority for this staff in the offseason.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, rumor is they've got more, they'll have more money to work with than they did last year. So we'll see. Trey Autry, sneaky good. I mean, probably not sneaky good, but he's a good free throw shooter. 80% free throw shooter on the year, and he made
all 6 of his yesterday.
Made all 6 last night. So there you go.
I mean, Autry was really impressive. And he has a really quick trigger. He can get a shot off in traffic. Really, again, seems like nothing really phases him. He was able to finish one through contact, get a 4-point play. That was cool. Drew a foul on another 3, made all 3 free throws. That was also great. Again, I'm really impressed with him. And I think he's really sort of found his role as a guy who can create a lot of instant offense. And I think he's really playing his way into this team's second option, which is exciting and not something I really anticipated going into the year. But he's a great offensive player, and it's really fun to watch him sort of grow into this role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, something that we didn't necessarily see last night, obviously he made 5 3-pointers, 5 of 11. Some of those were sort of later in the game. He had a few where it was kind of just like heaves late in the game.
But GW needed them to stay in it, and he hit them.
Yeah, that's true. But he's a sneaky good 2-point shooter. He's sneaky good at finishing at the rim. So that's kind of.
He's really good at sort of finishing through contact. Maybe not like a ton of contact, but he's strong. Like he's a strong guy. So he can sort of, if he gets going downhill, you feel pretty good about him finishing those opportunities. Yeah,
absolutely. Can we talk about the thing that happened with a minute left when
So I got an official explanation on that. It was just bad luck. It was really bad luck for GW. So basically what happened is Joe Bamisile made a dunk with 1 minute and 1 second left.
He didn't even windmill it. I was really hoping we would get like a Joe Bamisile, like through the legs windmill one last time for old time's sake.
Well, I don't think most of the students were there for the UMass A10 tournament down 10 windmill miss.
Yeah, but that was bad.
Anyway, what I was saying is, so that was recorded as occurring at 1 minute and 1 second, meaning that the clock doesn't stop. I hadn't actually encountered this before, really. I hadn't thought about it, but I kind of assumed that the clock would just automatically stop at 1 minute.
Yeah, but on the broadcast, Dr. John thought that it stopped under 2 minutes. So he was very confused. He was like, "Oh, they're going to put all the time back."
So first of all, I thought it happened under 1 minute. So it's like, no, like, oh, this is just a clock error. Like they'll fix it. But then we saw the Caputo was making a little bit of a scene on the sidelines. The refs called an official timeout. And then once they figured it all out, it ended up going down to like 46 seconds. So it seems just like really bad luck.
15 seconds is a long time, though.
It's a long time. But again, it's like it happened at 101. And so it's like that's something that's pretty like fluky and freaky. And again, like that stuff happens. Like I'm not blaming anyone for it, but it's like it's a shame that really took a chunk out of GW's sort of trying to come back.
Yeah. That's just how it goes. That's
college
kind of
basketball, baby.
Yeah, that's college basketball. And like as much as we've talked about kind of the issues with late game execution for GW this year, they have had times where like something like that happens, where like what was the game earlier in this year where they were awarded 2 points and then they like reversed the goaltending call. It's like what are you gonna do about that? Like that's just so sucks, bad luck. What are you gonna do? Sorry, my cat's kind of roaming around on the ground here, so I've been
That's okay.
He's so fat, but I would bring him up, but he's too fat and he would freak out. So anyway, what can we talk about Ty Bevins for a brief minute? Like I think
I kind of liked his minutes. He had a really cool steal.
Wow.
I'd never seen it. Abe Rothstein described it to me as like a peanut punch from like a where he sort of like went up with the guy and like slapped the ball out of his hands. Like it was cool. I don't know if I've ever really seen that in the basketball world. It was fun. But I liked how Caputo sort of used him as like just to sort of try and slow down Bamsel and Shulga. And I think I've said this before, but I think Bevins is really going to develop into a useful player. Mm-hmm. And like I could see him as a 3-and-D guy, a starting 3-and-D shooting guard on a very good team in 2 years, like when he's a junior. And
absolutely.
He's getting real minutes. He's really contributing to this team. And I think that's all you can ask for as a true freshman during the era where people still have their COVID years. Yeah,
absolutely. And this kind of speaking on the whole COVID year thing, I'm sure this is something we'll talk about ad nauseum as we approach the offseason and as we're in the offseason, but it's kind of going away now. You're not going to have that extra COVID year. So I'm curious to see what kind of.
I think GW is going to be in a really good spot after this.
Yeah.
Because I think Pito's been prioritizing young players, prioritizing freshmen, and he's shown that he can, for the most part, retain talent. Yeah. And again, we're going to see if that remains true this year, but once teams are sort of scrambling, losing all, like VCU is going to be in a tough spot next year. Like Brandon Jennings is going to be good.
They're going to I'm sure you saw that Twitter post that then got extrapolated into clickbait on all these different accounts, where basically like they're going to opt into revenue sharing and they're going to have like.
Yes. But when you're losing your like pretty much your top 5 players, and I guess not top 5, maybe all of the guards, I think, are out.
Yeah. How about when they're losing their coach? I think
I was about to say that too. You know,
I mean, not definitely, but in my mind, he's a no-brainer for UVA, especially if he makes the tournament this year.
I think he's done enough this year to show that, even if like, assuming he doesn't lose every game the rest of the way, I think. Again, no inside info other than listening to Curry Hicks Sage, but
he was a ball boy. That's the inside info. Apparently Ryan Odom was a ball boy when he was a kid at UVA.
But you got to feel like that's a slam dunk for UVA to go with Odom.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. We have to mention Rafael Castro. He was awesome. He's so much fun to watch. Like,
yeah, I love watching big men. He's a great big man.
So active on the offensive boards, and like.
I don't really know what else we can say that we haven't.
What else can you say? I mean, it's just when he I think there was a play last night where he like got the ball at like the elbow by the free throw line, and like did a move on. I forget which.
Great driver.
Yeah, he's a great, and it was like a reverse layup. I was like, that's like something you would see out of a guard. Like it was.
This is something that I'm going to talk about that we haven't talked about as much. His passing.
Yeah.
In the St. Bonaventure game, him and Buchanan had a really good 2-man game, and there are a few instances where he would like find Buchanan on the baseline, and that's like if GW is able to get that going and the defense is giving them that, that's unstoppable.
Right. Right.
And there were a few times yesterday when Castro got doubled, and he was able to feed it out to. I know he hit Autry for a few times, and he's just like a good and willing passer, which is such a surprise for a big man with his sort of lack of experience and his scoring ability. And so I think that's something not a lot of people talk about, and it's really fun. And again, if GW again just like had a little bit more talent on the perimeter, I think he's a guy who could be sneaky, averaging like 4 or 5 assists.
Yeah. No, I agree. You mentioned the St. Bonaventure game. I know you kind of told me that you weren't watching that as closely.
I was at work, so of course I wasn't watching and focusing at work, Liam.
You were working. You were working. Duh. Well, I wasn't working, so I can speak on the game. So I mean, they shot 23% from 3 and had 20 turnovers, and they won. And they went into St. Bonaventure and won.
Well, can I tell you my biggest takeaway from that?
What was that?
St. Bonaventure isn't very good.
Yeah, I've got what's his name? Lil Bona X is like Mark Schmidt. It might be time.
He's saying that on Blue Sky?
He's saying that in the Discord that I'm in with him. Yeah. I think what I've heard through Curry Hicks Sage and similar people is that it would be Mark Schmidt. It would be a retirement for Mark Schmidt. And it would, I don't think it would be this year, maybe next year, but it would be a thanks for the time. Thanks for all the fun. It's time to move on. So, but yeah, they are, the fact that they beat VCU in the first game of the A10 conference play is wild.
St. Bonaventure would be a fascinating job.
It's a sneaky, very hard job.
Yeah, exactly.
All of their athletics stink other than the men's basketball team. They're all like last. I mean, there's a lot of people who would want it.
I feel like you promote from within, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't know their assistant coach roster.
They have. Yeah.
Can I float a name of a sicko who I think could be perfect for St. Bonaventure?
I think I know what you're going to say. Go for it.
You say it. Say it. See if we're in sync here.
Zach Bovair.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking?
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Right? Like, wouldn't someone like him, just like a basketball sicko, good with European guys, knows the league?
Yeah. No, I think he would be great for it. I know for a fact that he is in no rush to get a head coaching job. He's
had opportunities. We know that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's happy to be the top assistant at, an A10 school, and who knows, maybe if Josh Schertz kills it this year and next year, then he gets like an actual Power 5 job, and Ben Bovair goes with him. So, Steve,
if Mark Schmidt wants another ride, one more. Do you know where he could be a great fit?
Canisius. Just kidding. I don't know.
Indiana.
Oh my God.
Right? Just like a level-headed, just a great basketball coach doing more with less there. I think he would do great.
Yeah. No, Archie Miller's going to Indiana. Don't worry about it.
Well, that sucks for Indiana.
Yeah. Let's see. What would be the funniest possible outcome for Indiana? God, there's someone who was on my mind that I forget. Whatever. Archie Miller is probably the answer, but the Indiana job is that's a whole can of worms that we don't need to get into. Okay. One more thing about the St. Bonaventure game.
Well, no, the funniest possible outcome for Indiana would be a Tom Crean going back.
Okay, that was the name that was in my head.
Yeah.
Him
and John Fanta had a great call, by the way. I love Tom Crean in media. He's doing a great job.
That's just what I was going to say. He's awesome. He's a really good analyst.
Yeah. Him and Dr. John. I was bummed that Dr. John called a GW home game because I love listening to his games. And those are two of my favorite analysts.
Some of the VCU fans on their message board were a little upset. Probably more with the play-by-play guy because he kept confusing two of their players.
How can you be upset with Dr. John? I feel like he's just always on it.
I don't know. These VCU fans they're a little crazy if you didn't know that already.
Oh, yeah. Not as crazy as another Virginia A10 fan base, but I guess maybe that's not the entire fan base.
It's definitely not the entire fan base. There's just more VCU fans, so I think there's more.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Noel Brown attempted 4 3-pointers against GW.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah. And apparently multiple times. He made one. He was you know that he was just like, I need to show them I can make a 3-pointer. I need to show them I can.
That was like Ricky Lindo when he played Maryland and made a 3. It was like,
yeah. God, Ricky Lindo's 3-point shooting is maybe the most confusing thing ever. I was convinced he was good. He kept missing all these open corner threes. Anyway, Mark
shout
Schmidt,
out Ricky Lindo in the summer league, getting summer league minutes. That was fun this year.
that was fun.
The Mavs don't really have a center right now. Maybe they wish they held on to him. Ricky Lindo could be getting some small ball 5 minutes with
there we
Kyrie.
go. Now we're talking.
Kyrie and Clay. Dude,
The
that's
poor
the
man's
Mavs big
Anthony
3.
Davis.
Kyrie, Clay, and Ricky Lindo.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, apparently Mark Schmidt, according to the broadcast at least, like Noel Brown like attempts a 3 and they like then ball goes out of bounds or something and they go to immediate timeout and Mark Schmidt just starts screaming at Noel Brown. It's like, what are you doing?
Okay, speaking of screaming, can we talk about the
that was a crazy video.
Yeah, so at the under 12, this is when GW was up by 11 on VCU. So a little Smith Center breakdown here. Kevin Burke, the great GWS edit, usually puts me on the side facing, I believe, M Street, right? No, it's a number street, 23rd.
Facing 23rd with
Yes.
your back to 22nd.
Yes, so I'm like looking towards like the entrance that the students come in. And like looking towards the Tin Tabernacle Club.
And the band is behind you.
Yep, band is behind me. And so I'm like up in the level, so I'm not courtside, right? I usually can't hear too much of what goes on, but what's fun is like I get a really good view into the away team bench. So like during timeouts, I can like see what they're drawing up. I can't really hear anything, but Liam, make a call here. Should I curse?
Go for it.
So I just hear, and again, it's allowed. Like
you're just quoting him for what it's.
I'm quoting. Yeah, I'm being a good journalist. I just hear, we're not fucking tough. And it's like so audible. And he's like red in the face, like slamming his clipboard. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and he like keeps going. And I whip out my phone and I get a video. And I can't hear what he's saying in the video I recorded. But like, again, you can see him, like you can hear that he is saying stuff and screaming them. And the whole team is like sort of like, oh my God. And so I texted my good friend, Zach Joachim of the Richmond Times Dispatch, or I DM'd him, I guess. And I sent him the video and I was like, have you ever seen this? And he's like, oh, Odom was big mad. Oh my gosh, looks like it worked. Yeah. And it was kind of cool to see a coach get that fired up. And, you know, from that point on, VCU really blew the tires off GW and it worked. But I had never seen a coach that angry. I had never heard anything that audible from where I sit usually. And that was just kind of a crazy moment.
Yeah, that's the part that surprised me the most about it was the fact that you were actually able to hear what he was saying. Because normally they're blasting some.
Yeah, and there was music. And I still heard him say, we're not fucking tough. And it was, it was just like, it was like shocking. It was a little shocking to hear that.
Yeah. Should we talk about the women's team has won 3 games in a row? Should we talk
about
sneaky
good? Are they back, Liam?
They're what?
Or are we just going to get the Macomb special where they turn it on a little bit at the end of the year, win a game or 2 in the tournament, and they run it back to next year?
We are in the midst. We're in like phase 2 of the Macomb special right now. I'm still not. We'll see. I mean, if they keep winning, then yeah. I just wonder like what the threshold is, because let's see, they were 1-9, and then they beat Fordham, who's like mid-tier probably in the A10, and then they beat Bonaventure.
I mean, Fordham, St. Bonaventure, Loyola aren't exactly world beaters.
No. And let's see what they got. Dayton at home.
That's a brutal end to the end of conference play.
Yeah, the schedule definitely gets harder.
That's a brutal end at Richmond versus Davidson versus UMass and at Rhodey. They will not win one of those games.
Yeah. They only let up 8 points last night in the first half.
Yeah, that was nuts.
That's crazy. I wasn't really watching super closely because I was watching the men's game with the volume on. But I was kind of monitoring. they're a super young team. They're even younger than the men's team, which is kind of interesting in terms of kind of how they go forward. So we'll see, because I certainly think that the tendency and willingness to enter the transfer portal is not as high in at least mid-major women's basketball as it is in men's basketball.
Well, there's less NIL.
Well, yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But then there's, if they have a different coach next year, then there's some people that, I didn't sign up to play with this new coach. So we'll see.
All right, Liam, let's wrap this up. I think we've
gone long enough.
I think we've gone pretty good. Again, not a ton of new stuff, but felt like yesterday was an important day, and we wanted to get something out here. I asked this of Caputo, and I asked this of Trey Autry and Rafael Castro yesterday. None of them really gave super inspiring answers, but I would love to hear your take on this. For the men's team, 6 games left in the regular season. How do you feel about how things have gone, and what do you hope to maybe see differently in these last 6 games?
I'm not entirely surprised about how things would have gone. I remember in our kind of conference preview episode, I said that I was expecting this team to beat a few teams that are ahead of them in the standings and lose to a few teams that are below them in the standings. And so far, that's what's happened. There's been a few games where like that LaSalle game, some of these games, I'm just like really wishing.
Record doesn't surprise me. Individual results have surprised me.
Yeah, exactly. If you had won one of those like LaSalle or Duquesne at home, or maybe one of the George Mason games, just because those were so close, that would be great. But like, they're still kind of, I sort of expected them to be either 8-10, 9-9, or 10-8. And like, I kind of think they're kind of on schedule for that. Who knows what happens this weekend at Davidson? I'm actually really excited to see the Reed Bailey versus Rafael Castro matchup.
Yeah.
So cool. And then like the kind of end of the schedule is UMass, Loyola, LaSalle, Fordham. Like those are the last 4 games. Those are all teams that GW can beat. Will they beat them? That's an entirely different story.
Yeah.
So.
The big thing I'm looking for is, and I think yesterday was a good step, but with especially with Drumgool's shot diet, but I want to see them sort of lean into their strengths and not try and be a 3-point shooting team.
Yeah.
I loved what I saw against Bonaventure with the 2-man game with Castro and Buchanan. I'd love to see more of that going forward. They went away from it a bit yesterday, but I think that was more due to VCU's defense.
Yeah. Buchanan has been a lot better. Buchanan has been, even these last 2 games, has been like.
Well, I think it's clear that he knows what his role is now. Yeah.
But he's getting back to himself. You see him like, earlier kind of in conference play when he was back from this injury, he just seemed a little hesitant, and he's now not as hesitant, I would say.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope they sort of lean into their strengths more and like sort of just like, yeah, again, it doesn't make a ton of sense to not shoot a lot of threes in this day and age, but if you're not good at it, don't do it. So I hope they kind of do that, see how that works. And I'd look for them to, for the first time in conference play this year, beat the teams that they should beat. And they have a really beatable next few games. I just want to read out who their opponents are going forward. These are all games that are winnable. At Davidson should be a win. I think they match up great against Davidson. Wait, no, that's the wrong team. At Davidson versus St. Joe's, that'll be the toughest one. But again, St. Joe's is so streaky like GW. Who knows what could happen there? Versus UMass, I don't think UMass will beat them twice. At Loyola, should be a win. Versus LaSalle, again, don't think LaSalle is going to beat GW twice. That should be a win. At Fordham is very bad this year.
The roof is literally falling in on Fordham.
Yes, there were some leaks yesterday. Yeah. So I'd expect GW to go at worst 4-2 to end the year. That should firmly put them in the middle of the conference and out of the pillow fight, which I think is a solid goal. And I'd be happy with that. I could see 5-1. I could even see 6-0 finish. I don't think that's out of the realm of pot. I don't think it'll happen, but like,
yeah, I couldn't see that.
Like, if you just look at these individual games, like, I think the only game where GW probably wouldn't be favored is versus St. Joe's.
Yeah.
And even then, that one's at home, so maybe they could be. No, I think that's probably going to be, like, close to a toss-up. I think the only one where they really won't be favored is maybe at Loyola. if Loyola keeps playing as well as they have been lately. And
Um,
I don't really think Loyola's that good. So I think all of these games are winnable. I'm hoping for 4-2, and I'm hoping for fewer 3-pointers and more Castro Buchanan 2-man game.
okay. What region do you think they're going to be in the NCAA tournament? So I can book my tickets now.
GW?
Yeah.
You disagree with 4-2?
No, I'm joking. I'm just messing with you. I mean, I'm looking on KenPom.
Okay, I'm not talking about them beating like going into SLU or going into Dayton. This is like,
yeah.
You don't think they can beat Billy Lang's 3-fence? Come on.
I know, but like, it would be so predictable for this team to go in and just completely lay an egg this weekend.
Of course it would. But again, this team I think is, I don't know.
It's just, I don't know. I know nothing. I know everything and I know nothing at the same time. It's very confusing. We know what they're bad at and what they're good at, and we don't know if they're going to win or lose games. We just know it's going to be close. So
okay, so 3.5 wins the rest of the way. Over or under? Are you going to take that?
I'll take the over 3.5.
I'll take the over as well. We're in agreement.
Yeah. KenPom has us 3-3 for the rest of the year. So
yeah.
Losses to Davidson, St. Joe's, and Loyola. Okay.
We said we'd keep it tight, and we're at 36 minutes. I think that's good for us.
This always happens. All right. We'll be back probably maybe sometime next week. But yeah, thank you for listening. And yeah, have a nice rest of your day. Go Birds. 1, 2 rings.
I'm glad they beat the Chiefs. So
I'll be at the parade
America's
tomorrow.
free from that.
That was awesome. One of the best sporting the win against Bonaventure, and then the Eagles giving the belt.
So is that your best sporting day ever?
It's up there. It's definitely up there.
Can I tell you my best sporting day ever?
Yeah.
2013. It was a Sunday in October. The Patriots walked off the Saints during a 4:00 game on a Tom Brady to Kembrell Tompkins end zone, corner end zone touchdown. It was incredible. And then I went to the game. It was the Red Sox Tigers ALCS game 2, where David Ortiz hit the 8th inning grand slam to tie the game for the Red Sox, and they walked it off the next day. That's the one where like the bullpen cop is like going crazy.
Yeah.
That was a crazy day. That was my best sports day.
That's pretty good. I would have to think about it a little more, but in recent memory, this past Sunday was probably the best sports day. Eagles doing a lot of heavy lifting in that. So
yeah,
there you go.
All right. I have so many as a Patriots and Red Sox fan. I have so many to choose from. So
congratulations.
Tough spot for me to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a tough spot. Where are we meeting at the parade tomorrow?
Okay, so as a frequent parade goer, do you want some tips?
Give me some. I went to the Eagles one in 2018.
Bring a backpack of like Bud Lights or something.
I'm bringing a backpack of Yinglings.
Make sure you have your ID on you because they'll try and bust people for underage.
Okay.
Have that and be ready to not drink most of them and be ready to throw most of them at the players.
Try and see if I can concuss like Jordan Mailata.
There's nothing better than making eye contact with one of them with the beer ready in your hand, just sending it and having them catch it. Like that's like the best thing ever. Like it's so cool.
My goal is to be close to the speeches, close to the art museum where the speeches. That's what I did before. So
we'll do that. Bring if your goal is to like get drunk, bring like a water bottle or something of like whatever you want in that. And then, focus on throwing the beers. That's my advice.
Focus on throwing the beers. Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep you posted. Probably won't be able to report back because there won't be any cell service during the parade, but
all right,
I will keep you posted. Okay.
Yeah, there will not be cell service. So have a plan if you're with the people you're going with, or if you're trying to meet up with someone, plan that before. Yeah.
No, I'm ready for that. We got some great parade talk in. We can use that when GW basketball wins the.
Do college teams do parades? Yeah.
Right. Villanova did one when they won the national.
UConn does them in Hartford. Yeah.
Yeah. Villanova did one in Philly, which people were like, they shouldn't do it in Philly. It's like, as someone who's like from the immediate area around Villanova, they should have done it in Philly. They would
okay. The GW parade would be so sad.
Well, it would be awesome. It would be like, what did they do for the Nationals in the Capitals?
Oh, that was sick. The Nats parade was awesome. I had a great time there. Oh God.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's finally put our.
All right. We're just under 40 minutes now, so we really didn't keep it tight. But if you're listening, Props to you. Tell
Yeah.
me or Liam your favorite parade story, and we will buy you a dribbling George if you're listening
Yeah.
to this.
All those, well, I was going to say all those New York sports fans don't have any memories.
That's a good point. Abe,
They
you don't
do
count.
have some. All right.